Why the elite do not wear masks. At least they don't wear respirator masks much, if at all. Before I even get started, I'm going to say that this is not an insult or an attack on anybody who's still in the city. And when I talk about people who really have their shit together, I'm not insinuating that you don't if you still live in the city. And if you feel like this is directed at you, it's not. You're probably just feeling what I'm talking about, or you're confused. Chances are you're just not that important. I'm not singling you out. This isn't about you. With that said, why don't the elite wear masks? The elite do not place themselves in situations where they feel uncomfortable or at risk. When this whole thing started, they left the city centers and are in the country smelling fresh air. The elite are thinking about their gardens and where they're going to spend the day out or in, but generally out, going out to beautiful places, going out into nature, going out into places with a breathtaking view is a good approach to how to handle this whole pandemic, great panic, great pantomime of 2020, is to go out and surround yourself with nature and to not be around places where you don't feel comfortable. If you don't feel comfortable, if you feel at risk, then you're being attacked by this real or imaginary situation that you're not comfortable with. And so the best strategy is to be away from that. If you have to walk around in a mask, then you're in self-defense mode. And the people who really have their shit together, forget about the elite, the people who really have their shit together, I talked to them, and since this started, they left the city, and they're not very concerned or fearful. They're not on a fear vibration. They're not posting about social distancing and soup Nazi about wearing your mask. That's not even the vibration they're on. They don't even want to talk about all this. The people who really have their shit together the most also know that being on a high vibration and surrounding yourself with beauty is where it's at. And so they are thinking about what they're going to have for breakfast. They're thinking about where they're going to spend the day surrounded by beauty and nature and fresh air. And they're thinking about their garden. They're listening to classical music and looking at trees. People who really have their shit together but who are in this, they are going to shop as least often as possible for as much as they can so they don't have to go out around anybody. Thus, they don't have to wear masks. And they're not freaking out because they can't handle the isolation. So they have to go out to be around people, but they need to wear a mask because they're out and around these people. They're nowhere near people where there's a risk. There's no risk. If there's no risk, there's no reason to wear a mask. There's people who I know who have hardly had to put on a mask since this started, and who are never talking about the vibration of fear or panic or anger or resentment at other people who are not wearing their masks. They're just not even, they don't talk about this, and they're not very concerned about it. So I invite you, if you have the chance, to spend as much time in nature as you can, and the least amount of time that you can in places where you feel uncomfortable or vulnerable enough to where you would have to wear a mask. No offense but believe me, if you are around a place that's at risk, mask up so you're not potentially putting other people at risk around you. If you are at risk, that's because your immune system's low, and you should take a look at that and fix it. But just to protect other people, if you're going to go around someplace that you don't want to have to go, then put your mask on. But let's think about that. If you're going someplace you don't want to have to be around, then you're not exactly in control of your life. if you are not in a position to leave the city, that's fine. And it's not an attack on you whatsoever. But if you are in a position to leave the city and you haven't, for whatever reason, that's your own business. I'm not even interested. But what I am interested in, I'm interested in the people who surround themselves with beauty and nature and fresh air and trees, who are on a awakening vibration and are not very concerned about this and are pretty much doing the same thing that they were doing before. I'm interested in thriving, and I can tell you that personally, as soon as this thing started, I left the city. I don't think I've had a mask on for more than an hour and a half total, and that's really a lot. I could have cut it down from there. This is just food for thought. Take it or squeeze it. Take it however you want to take it. But understand clearly that the people who really have their shit together, the ratio of how much time they spend with a mask on and how upset they are, how much they post about fear or anger is very, very low. And that's just quantifiable. It's something to think about. And it's something that you don't need to be filthy rich to participate in. And if you do have the chance or opportunity to separate yourself from this, surround yourself with beauty and truth, seeking oneness with your environment and with the universe, then that's the path that I would invite you to follow. I hope that this helps. Peace and love be with you. Stay safe.